The moment I stepped off the plane, I knew something was wrong. It wasn't the flight or the heat, it was him. My coworker, the guy who had invited me and my brother on what was supposed to be a fun weekend, seemed different. At first glance, he was charming, funny, the kind of person you think you can trust instantly. But there was a flicker in his eyes, a tension under his smile, that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. We laughed as we drove to the condo, teasing each other, joking about how relaxing it would be. Everything looked perfect: the sun, the beach, the fancy condo. Yet every step I took, every glance I stole at him, sent a quiet warning through my chest. This weekend was not going to end the way I imagined. By nightfall, I would realize that what seemed like harmless fun had a dark edge I couldn't escape. His name was Ethan. On the surface, he seemed like the kind of person everyone gravitates toward. The funny stories, the easy laugh, the way he could make any awkward situation feel light. My brother and I immediately felt like we'd known him for years. But the more I watched him, the more little details started to stick out. The way he exaggerated, the tiny inconsistencies in his stories, the way his charm sometimes felt like it was just for show. Then there was his sister, Lila. She had this quiet, offbeat energy that was hard to describe. She wasn't exactly shy, but there was something in the way she observed everything that made me wonder what she really thought about Ethan. Her smile sometimes didn't reach her eyes, and I caught her glancing at him with an unreadable expression more than once. I remember thinking, these two are siblings, but they operate on entirely different wavelengths. And as we piled into the condo for the weekend, I couldn't shake the feeling that behind Ethan's laughter, something darker was hiding. The condo was better than I expected, spacious, clean, with a view of the beach that made you forget you were in Florida. Ethan and Lila took their rooms, and my brother and I shared the smaller one. At first, everything felt normal, almost fun. We unpacked, grabbed a few drinks, and decided to check out the nearby bars. The streets were alive with people enjoying the evening, music from beach bars mixed with laughter and the clinking of glasses. But Ethan was already off balance. He downed drinks faster than anyone else, laughing loudly, teasing strangers, flirting with people who barely glanced at him. At first, it was almost entertaining, even a little impressive, the way he could command attention. But then it shifted. Girls avoided him, men glared, and I could feel my stomach twist with embarrassment. Tyler and I laughed nervously at first, but the laughter died quickly when Ethan's charm turned into aggression. A simple night out felt like walking a tightrope, and as we walked back to the condo, I realized something. This weekend wasn't just strange, it was starting to feel dangerous. Back at the condo, the atmosphere started to shift. Ethan's laughter faded, replaced by this tense energy that made the room feel smaller, tighter. At first, I tried to brush it off as just alcohol catching up to him, but it quickly became clear that something about him was off. His jokes took sharp edges, his smile sometimes turning into something unreadable. He began pacing, muttering under his breath, throwing glances at my brother and me that made me want to look away. Lila watched quietly, her eyes flicking between us and Ethan like she was measuring something, but she didn't intervene. I remember feeling trapped, like I was walking on eggshells without even knowing what I might set off. Then came the first aggressive moment. A sharp, unnecessary comment to my brother about not having his back, followed by a shove. It was shocking, sudden, and I froze. It wasn't just awkward anymore. This was the first real warning that Ethan's charm could flip, that beneath the laughter and stories, there was a danger I hadn't been prepared for. As the night wore on, things got worse. Ethan retreated to his room for a while, but his presence was everywhere. Every laugh, every muttered word, every glance from the corner of the room carried this weight that made me uneasy. My brother and I tried to focus on each other, finishing our drinks quietly, but the tension was suffocating. When we decided to step out again, a brief sense of normalcy returned. We met some locals, shared jokes, and even exchanged numbers. For a moment, I thought maybe the weekend wouldn't be as bad as I feared. But as soon as Ethan realized we were gone, his text began flooding my phone. Accusations, anger, strange threats. Something in his tone made the air around me tighten. By the time we returned to the condo, I understood. It wasn't just the alcohol or a bad mood. Ethan thrived on control, and being ignored or left out wasn't something he could tolerate. His unpredictability was suffocating, and suddenly, what should have been a simple weekend away felt like a trap, leaving us isolated in a space that should have been safe. That night, sleep became impossible. Every creak of the condo floor, every whisper of wind outside, made my heart race. Then I heard it. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, coming closer to our door. My brother and I froze. The sound stopped right outside, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. A moment later, laughter. Low, strange, almost toying with us. I peeked through the crack in the door and saw Ethan leaning against the wall in the dark living room, talking to himself. He muttered my name, mocking me, laughing at things that only he understood. My stomach dropped. Then, the confrontation escalated. Suddenly, he was at the door, lunging at the bed, screaming, shaking with anger. Words I couldn't fully process poured out. Accusations, threats, and this overwhelming sense that he had completely lost control. My brother grabbed him, struggling to keep him at bay, while I tried to calm him, to reason with a man who was beyond reasoning. It lasted only a few terrifying minutes, but it felt like hours. The fear, the adrenaline, the uncertainty. Every second etched itself into my memory. I realized then, with sickening clarity, that we were lucky to get out alive. By the time we managed to break free from Ethan's grip, the condo felt like a cage closing in on us. We grabbed our bags and ran for the car, hearts pounding, adrenaline surging. I thought we were finally safe, that the nightmare was ending. But the chaos wasn't over. As we reached the lobby, a scream cut through the night. Lila had followed us, shouting, and then Ethan appeared behind her, eyes wild. In the struggle that followed, a misstep sent Lila falling down the stairs. Time slowed. We reached her too late. Her body lay still at the bottom, and I could hear Ethan screaming and blaming everything on us. The sound is still burned into my memory. We didn't stop. My brother and I got into the car and drove without looking back, leaving behind everything and everyone trapped in that nightmare. By the time we found a hotel, the reality hit. A weekend that started as fun had ended in horror and tragedy. Lila was gone, and Ethan's presence lingered like a shadow we couldn't escape. Even weeks later, I can't shake that night. The image of Lila lying motionless, the sound of Ethan's crazed laughter echoing in the condo, it all haunts me. I tell myself I was lucky to survive, but lucky feels hollow when someone else didn't make it out. I still see him sometimes, avoiding me at work, smirking as if nothing happened. It's a chilling reminder that people can hide darkness behind charm, laughter, and friendliness. You never know what lies beneath the surface until it's too late. That weekend changed me. I learned that instinct matters more than appearances, that a person's behavior, no matter how likable at first, can spiral into something uncontrollable. And every time I hear a sudden noise or a strange laugh, I'm pulled back to that condo, to the terror, and the tragic cost of ignoring the signs. Some experiences leave scars you can't see, and some nightmares linger long after the lights come back on. That's a truth I'll carry forever.